Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ishaq Lat on behalf of the MCC Health and Awareness Committee. We are putting together a series of informational content for our community to help understand um, some of the different aspects that are related to the coronavirus vaccine. I'm sure many of you have seen information or sent messages in WhatsApp or seen other things online. And so we wanted to use this platform to share with our community and educate our community on the facts and help them make decisions that are based in reality. So, with that, let me start by sharing with you um, what we are using to help us display some of this information to our community. The first most important thing is this is the briefing document that was put together by the United States Food and Drug Administration to review the data related to the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine. This is a 60-page document that is being used to help review the data, review safety, and determine whether or not this is a vaccine that should be authorized for use. So as you can see, it's quite long. It has a number of um, pages with tables, figures, and whatnot. So this is primarily the content that we use to review and determine and provide um, some level of information for our community. So with that, we thought it would be useful for us to put together a brief presentation to help make sense of what it is that is being discussed. So this is explaining for our community the Pfizer SARS-CoV-2, which is a scientific name for coronavirus 19, the vaccine to our MCC and to our MCC community. There is a need for an effective vaccine, primarily because the virus has so far infected more than 60 million people around the world, killing more than 1.5 million people. In the United States alone, as of yesterday, more than 275,000 people have passed away from coronavirus, some here within our own community. Um, Minority communities are disproportionately experiencing the worst outcomes, including severe disease and death. So it's important for us to understand that. Um, Causative factors for what's contributing to poor outcomes within minority communities are one, a lack of access to reliable healthcare, a misunderstanding of healthcare within our community, misinformation that's circulated through social media and WhatsApp groups, and then also just cultural factors that contribute to how we access healthcare. Um, Coronavirus was declared a national emergency in the United States on March 13th, 2020. I'm sure many of us remember that experience. Currently, there are 19 vaccine candidates in development of varying technologies. One is an mRNA technology, the second is a DNA technology. All of them target the viral spike protein and the coronavirus, which is what makes it unique. And it's also the binding protein for the virus to attach to your own cells. That is what makes people sick. The Pfizer BioNTech vaccine is the first one to be approved under an emergency use authorization from the FDA. There's an ongoing trial of 44,000 volunteers, with full data being reviewed by the FDA of 38,000 volunteers. It's important to note that an emergency use authorization isn't the same as a full approval by the FDA. This is an FDA approval that's granted for unapproved medical products to be allowed in an emergency basis to diagnose, treat, and prevent serious or life-threatening disease. The FDA is still requiring ongoing data to authorize a full approval. But for the time being, when in the given context of a pandemic, there is data to suggest that a therapy might be useful, the FDA is granting emergency use authorization. The FDA doesn't just come up arbitrarily with this authorization. They actually have preset criteria. So before the first studies with the coronavirus vaccine were even done, they had required these criteria. So the FDA required demonstrating greater than 50% effectiveness of the coronavirus vaccine, meaning that there needed to be a 50% reduction in patients or volunteers that received the vaccine compared to a placebo. Just to put this into context, the flu vaccine is about 60% effective. off of the last couple years worth of data available on the CDC website. So 50% would be relatively effective. The other thing that the FDA really wanted to look at was safety. So they wanted to know reaction events, both common and unexpected side effects to the vaccine. And they wanted over 3,000 volunteers from all age groups, age 16 and above, for at least 2 months after the vaccine. This would allow the manufacturer and the FDA to have data to identify side effects that were not apparent in the immediate post-vaccine period. Would also allow them a suitable time frame to identify immune-mediated adverse events, and that would allow for continued follow-up for up to 2 years beyond the emergency use authorization. So, how is a Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine given? It's given in 2 doses. The first dose is given on day 1 in your shoulder, and then you're given a second dose on day 21. We don't know as of right now what happens if you show up on day 22 or day 23 or day 24, but it's important that as it becomes more available that you stick with that schedule. There's data available in the 38,000 patients or 44,000 now in patients as young as age 16 and above that were being treated. And this is important to note. The study wasn't just done here in the United States, it was done around the world, meaning that the data that's being seen applies to a broad population of people, doesn't apply to just a limited group of people within the United States. So the Pfizer trial was conducted in the United States, in Argentina, Brazil, and South Africa. This Pfizer vaccine, as of we know right now, is very effective. So you can see here that there are over 37,000 volunteers that were evaluated, over 18,000 in the vaccine arm, another 18,000 in the placebo arm. When the trial investigators looked to see if COVID developed more than 7 days after the second injection, out of 18,000 people that received the vaccine, only 8 of them ended up developing coronavirus. Out of the placebo arm, which is basically just a shot of saline into the arm, 162 people developed coronavirus. So the vaccine was demonstrated to be 95% effective at reducing coronavirus. This is really, really important because when you look at things like the flu, which is usually the vaccine that most people tend to think of that they receive regularly, most recent efficacy rates are about 60%. So this is almost quite a bit more effective than the regular flu vaccine. Shown to be really safe. The most common side effects that were reported by people were fatigue, headache, and pain at the injection site. Less than 2% of all recipients, so about out of 37,000 people, less than 2% of them reported severe side effects. The most common was a fever greater than 38 degrees Celsius or about 101 degrees Fahrenheit in about 15% of all people that received the vaccine. So, one, the vaccine is really, really effective. 2, the vaccine is really, really safe. So it's good to understand that. Now, I'm sure many of you have already started seeing news reports from around the world as volunteers and people have started receiving the vaccine in England and soon here in Canada. You will see isolated reports of 1 or 2 people having severe effects. That's not uncommon. When you're vaccinating tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, you will hear of isolated case reports, and that's consistent with what you saw in the data that we just reviewed together. So if you ever hear of things and you have questions, please feel free to email us at health@mccchicago.org. We're happy to answer any questions, try to allay any concerns, but we would like our community to make educated and informed decisions about really important healthcare, as opposed to relying on things that you see and receive in social media. Despite what you see, not everyone is an expert, and we have alhamdulillah experts within our community that can help you make the right decision for you and for your family. So with that, we hope that this is beneficial. We will have more information coming out over the course of the next few days and weeks regarding the vaccine and hopefully be able to address everyone's questions and concerns. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.